Speaking of M&A, the FCC greenlighting Skydance's takeover of Paramount. The overall deal, it's a complex deal. We talked about it endlessly. It's around $8 billion. It will leave about 30% or so of the shares outstanding of Paramount when it closes. Joining us now for a first time CNBC following the approval of the transaction is the chair of the FCC, Brendan Carr. Brendan, good to see you.
Good to be with you.
You know, I wanted to reference some comments from Commissioner Ana Gomez and get your response, because your approval here has been under the microscope in the sense that, and we've talked about it, Sarah's asked you about it, I've asked you about it previously, the idea that there was a quid pro quo essentially between the FCC and the Trump administration in terms of you're allowing this deal to go forward only after they settled with the Trump administration and some of their some of the moves they had made to obviously say that they had done things incorrectly in terms of the use of interviews and the like. She wrote, the once independent FCC used its vast power to pressure Paramount to broker a private legal settlement and further erode press freedom. The agency is undermining legitimate efforts to combat discrimination and expand opportunity by overstepping its authority. And she says, after months of cowardly capitulation to this administration. What's your response to that?
No, listen, if you step back, what's happening here is, I think President Trump is fundamentally reshaping the media landscape. And the way he's doing that is when he ran for election, he ran directly at these legacy broadcast media outlets, ABC, NBC, CBS. For years, government officials just allowed those entities with execs sitting in Hollywood and New York to dictate the political narrative. And he has fundamentally changed the game. And you see that really having consequences that are just rushing all through media. The thing that was really important to me in all of this was that the new owners of CBS came in and said, it's time for a change. We're going to reorient it towards getting rid of bias, to looking at fact-based reporting. They said they're going to get rid of invidious forms of DEI discrimination. At the end of the day, that's what made the difference for us in terms of our review at the agency.
Yeah, and so, again, when Ana Gomez writes, you're imposing never-before-seen controls over newsroom decisions and editorial judgment in direct violation of the First Amendment, you say what?
I think it's time for a change. And the procedures that we put in place in this deal have lots of precedent. For instance, there's been ombudsmans put in place by the FCC before. We're putting a biased ombudsman in place here. We're addressing DEI. The prior FCC during the Biden years put pro-DEI commitments in different transactions. And so we're unwinding that type of approach. And we're frankly taking a trust but verify perspective here. I think this could go a long way to restoring America's trust in media. And again, the media itself, I think, has undermined itself over these last couple of years. When you look at the stuff that Colbert is doing, the idea that, a partisan carnival makes economic sense, these are business decisions at the end of the day. And again, I think it goes back to President Trump, because this facade of gatekeeper legitimacy that was conferred on these outlets is going away. And we're just seeing a lot of dominoes fall as a result of that.
Did you want to see the Colbert report go away in order to approve this deal? Was that part of the decision?
Well, look, it's clear to me that Colbert doesn't have it anymore. What we were focused on was our interactions with the new purchasers, the commitments that they made in the FCC record, again, addressing bias, addressing things like DEI, looking to put more investment into local news, because at the end of the day, trusted local sources of news and information are really important. It's a big counterweight to a lot of the national media out there. In terms of the Colbert thing, again, that was a business decision for the current owners to have made on their own.
Yeah, the timing was interesting, though, and so was the settlement where the CBS Paramount had to pay $16 million to President Trump to settle the lawsuit, and now some Democrats are saying this is just bribery. Did that need to happen for you to approve this deal? Was that part of it?
Well, it's interesting to me, as the new owners of CBS came in, they made a commitment to making progress on bias and actually trying to move back towards fact-based journalism. And as soon as they did that, Democrats in the House all of a sudden launched an investigation. I guess we can't have that. I guess we can't have a return to fact-based journalism. Look, the reality is there's three very separate things going on here. There was this lawsuit involving President Trump, which was outside of the FCC, didn't have anything to do with us. We had this transaction before us, and we also have a news distortion complaint against CBS. The news distortion complaint is still pending at the FCC. We haven't made a final decision on that, but those are three separate things that have been proceeding.
Although, Chair Carr, Colbert's a comedian, and you keep talking about journalism and fairness and news, but I guess where is that line between, we all remember Carson and Jay Leno giving Reagan the business. So where does that fit into this discussion?
Well, I think that's what's interesting about all of this is these late night shows, not just the late night shows, but across the board, they have such a storied history, and it's sort of sad to see what's happening to Colbert. They obviously can't get it done. They're not making money over there. But I think they need a course correction. And frankly, I think the media industry across this country needs a course correction. Again, the American people simply do not trust the mainstream media. And for broadcasters, which, again, different than cable, different than podcast, for broadcasters, they have a federal license, and they are obligated to operate in the public interest. And to the extent that we're starting to see some changes, I think that's a good thing. And frankly, I think it will help restore some of the trust that's been lost with the American people.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously, Colbert, I think, wins his time slot. It's just the seismic changes that have taken place in terms of the distribution of programming and the competition for it, which you well know about, have changed the dynamic completely in terms of the profitability of many of these shows. What are your expectations for the new Paramount? Do you have any in terms of the new owners and what you expect to see, and or the consolidation that may still need to take place? Some of it may not have anything to do with the FCC, but others of it may.
Yeah, ultimately, it's a trust but verify approach when it comes to that. I'm hopeful. I really like some of the commitments that they've made, again, towards addressing bias and to fact-based reporting. But again, to your point, there's really sort of seismic changes taking place across the media landscape. And again, I think it goes back to consumers having more choice, more options, this idea that you only could choose from one of 3 broadcast networks of the years of the past, and what they said was taken as gospel and infallible. That era is ending. And so I think that we're going to continue to see consequences over the coming months and years as this industry sees a pretty big reshuffle take place.
Yeah. All right. I promised my viewers I'd ask, so I'll just throw this in there because we were talking about charter earnings recently. Wireless, cable getting into wireless, obviously getting with fixed wireless, getting into broadband. Is there ever a day you could see coming in front of you the idea of a huge deal such as a Verizon and a charter? And what would be your thoughts if, in fact, that was presented to you?
Yeah, I'm open-minded. We'll see what comes our way. There's a lot of transactions going on right now. It is a very frothy time. And to your point, you've got traditional cable companies that are taking more mobile wireless subscribers than actually mobile wireless. And the opposite is true. You got mobile wireless providers that are getting bigger pieces of the in-home broadband market, previously dominated by cable, than ever before. There's a lot of disruption, a lot of change. We're looking at everything. We've been doing a lot of discussions with Dish and Charlie Ergen as well. He's got a lot of spectrum there that, frankly, has not been put to its highest and best use in terms of loading the spectrum. So we've been in conversations with him. How do we get that spectrum put to better use? Those conversations are ongoing.
All right, yeah, you and I discussed that at Milken as well, I remember, and then you put a notice out. Chairman Carr, thanks. Always appreciate it.